Liverpool are increasingly optimistic that Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk are close to signing new deals. As TalkSport revealed last month, the Reds have been confident Salah would commit his future after talks with the Saudi Pro League were put on the back burner. Sources at Anfield insist nothing's been signed yet, but talks remain very positive. Here's our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. Rory, what's your initial reaction to that? I mean, it's such a massive boost for them, isn't it, going into next season, particularly as champions-elect, that they're able to keep the majority of that spine of really important players.
Yeah, I actually think that they had to keep Mohamed Salah off the back of what we saw him do at the beginning of this season. Like Mohamed Salah for the first half of this season, and let's face it, that's why Liverpool are going to win the league. They had a dazzling first half of the season. They had a very good second half of the season, and they've been fairly average in the second half, in the third part of the season. If you break it into three, it's been amazing, very good, and average.
Tepid.
Yeah. But the reason that they are going to win the league is because of the dazzling form that they demonstrated in the first part of the season. And in that first part of the season, the best player in the best team, in the best league, was head and shoulders above everyone else, and that player was Mohamed Salah. We saw him almost redefine himself. So he wasn't all gung-ho thrust going forward. He became a provider. He was breaking records for assists and goals. He was.
I think he's three away from the joint record of Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne, which is 20 assists in a Premier League season. And look, Mo Salah's the sort of bloke that can get 3 assists in one game, and so there's only 8 games left. But he's close to that record.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he will get to that number, because I don't think his form has been particularly impressive. Liverpool don't have any real games of significance anymore. I feel like Mohamed Salah's game, the bigger the challenge, the better the player. Like, I think. Do
you think so?
Yeah, I feel like
there has been some criticism. I mean, I'm not landing myself either side of the argument, but there's been some criticism. It came to the fore after that Carabao Cup final that he doesn't deliver in finals.
I don't believe that to be true. If you look at his trophy haul, I don't think that's true. I understand what you're saying, but the reason why Liverpool have won the league is because of how good he was when they didn't have a chance of winning the league. Nobody at the beginning of the season really predicted that they would win the league. The reason that they did win it is because of the form that he demonstrated then. Since it's been in the bag, I feel like his form has dipped a touch.
Rory, do you think that they've, out of those 3 integral players, Trent, Virgil van Dijk, Mo Salah, have they kept the 2 best ones?
Yeah. God, yeah. Of course they have.
So if you were to rank them in terms of your sporting director at Liverpool, and would you rank them what? Salah, Van Dijk, Trent?
Yeah, but not even. No, I don't. Liverpool had to keep Salah off the form that we were talking about. Virgil van Dijk is, to most people, the best defender in Europe. You have to keep him. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I don't think it's even part of the same conversation. If I was making the decision in a ridiculous world, I'd have gone, right, we do everything within our power to keep Mohamed Salah. If we can keep one, in my opinion, the one that you keep is Salah. Salah won in the league. Then, very close behind, I'm just prioritising for the sake of it, but very close behind, just a rizz of paper in it, Virgil van Dijk. Then it's Virgil van Dijk. We do everything within our power to keep hold of the best centre-half in world football. We'll talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold another time. Let's sort those 2 out, get those 2 to sign, prioritise doing everything within our power to make sure that those 2 players are Liverpool players for the foreseeable. Once that's in the bag, we can discuss Trent Alexander-Arnold, but I don't think he's even played the same sport as the other 2. It's not the same thing.
Where do you put their chances next season? Now that they look like they've secured Van Dijk and Salah, do you still put them as title favourites? Even, and I just, to remind you, obviously, of the context of the form that they're in right now, they're keeping those 2 players, but they're still struggling in the past 6 weeks. We're not gonna sort of catastrophise that too much. But do you think there is a rebuild project at Anfield in the summer, despite they're keeping those 2 players?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. I don't know if you saw, Jamie Carragher wrote a very interesting article for The Telegraph.
You say 5?
6. Jamie Carragher said 6 players they need, which I don't necessarily agree with. That sounds a lot for the champions. But being champions doesn't necessarily mean that you are the best placed team to be champions again next year. We saw it with the team that Sir Alex Ferguson left David Moyes, for example. We've seen Chelsea teams go from top to 10th. And I feel like Arne Slot has got the maximum out of this crop of players. So I do believe that there is at least some truth in Liverpool needing to reinvest, reimagine, redefine, go again, and sign some quality players. But I do you think there's any truth in this? Just out of respect for the champions. The champions of the reigning champions should always be the first or second place in our predictions. Just out of respect. If you are champions, you get to the title, you win the league, and they've won the league at a canter, have they not earned the courtesy of us going, I think Liverpool will win the league next year, or I think Liverpool will finish second next year? It can't be open. They're champions.
I don't think that then they won't be one of the favourites, but I don't think it's a matter of courtesy when people make their predictions. I think it's a matter of their own opinion and the evidence that they trust in. I don't think it's about courtesy.
No, I know, but I just think it's very tricky to say that Liverpool won't win the league or they won't finish it.
Who's saying they're not going to win the league?
I think. Jamie Carragher suggested that they won't unless they make those 6 signings.
Oh, you're talking about next season?
Yeah.
I just think looking at the recent form, they're a completely different beast to the first half of the season, and it doesn't make me think that they definitely won't win the league. I think it's going to be open, and I think that that's a good thing. You know, I think it's a good thing that there isn't this procession to the title, and that's what makes the Premier League such a competitive and such an engaging thing to watch.
I actually don't know who. Obviously, I don't know, but you know, it's a weird one, the Premier League title race next year, because it's a fascinating one. Yeah. Because I don't even know who I predict. It's like you know, usually even when I'm wrong, I know what I think. I was very wrong about Arsenal, but I thought Real Madrid would win the game 4-0. I was very wrong about who would win the league this year, but it was what it was. I had the feelings that I put forward. With the title race next year, I feel like it could go about 4 different ways. I feel like a very safe bet, you know, if you were to put some money, a very safe bet, just say Man City.
See, I don't think it's a safe bet.
I don't think they'll win. I just think that's a very safe bet. Then the second safest bet, champions. The champions, man. They're champions for a reason. Back the champions. Arsenal, though, have been the most consistent team over the past, 4 years now. They obviously could win it because when you knock on the door, ultimately that door opens. You know, you knock on the door, second, champions.
And if, like we say, Arsenal...
they all go to pot and the Villa come into it, the Forest come into it, the Newcastle come into it. Like anything feels possible. But probably Man City.
See, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure that it's as simple as that for City, particularly considering the fact that we are expecting a ruling in that historic case against Manchester City, of course, who protested their innocence since the beginning. But there is going to be an outcome which could prove consequential for next season. We don't know. But I think even despite that, something's going on at City, and they just look like they're in a rut. And of course, if anyone can do it, it's Pep Guardiola. But I've just got a feeling it's not going to be as simple. I think that their sort of dominance, that they've had for so long, I think is waning slightly, and I think that's a credit to other teams. To go back to the point that Jamie Carragher was making about them needing 6 players, just off the top of your head, Rory, where do they need reinforcing? Obviously, they're going to be looking for someone to replace Trent. It looks like Kirkes is all but done, and I think that's an absolutely class signing. Yeah, I mean those are the two obvious positions, because Andy Robertson feels spent. Great player, but feels spent. Tsimikas isn't very good, so that side is a problem. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think you could do with some reinforcements over that side. You know, you've got Conor Bradley coming through, but I think you could do with some reinforcements. A centre-half partner. I think the main one for me, outside of the left and right back, is a striker. Really? Because Jota, fantastic, class on the grass, brilliant finisher, injured a lot. Darwin Núñez, not good enough. And I think that, and I think we've briefly had this conversation before, or I don't know if it was on air or off air. I just think that they should go gung ho for Harry Kane. Yeah, I do as well. Yeah, and I don't know if I think he's recently said that he, committed his next couple of years to Bayern Munich, but I think this is the last season that Harry Kane is in the market for a massive European move. Yeah, I do as well. And at that point, if they get Harry Kane, I think they become an unstoppable force for another couple of years. Midfielder maybe as well. Like how good is Szoboszlai really? Really? Do you disagree with me on that? No, I don't disagree with you. I don't have a particularly strong opinion on Szoboszlai. Whenever I watch him, I think he's pretty good. But, I think he's very good. But I think there are probably better midfielders out there. But again, what Liverpool aren't a Galacticos team, are they? You know, that's not their shtick, I don't think, under Arne Slot. It's about systems and it's about the way he wants to play, and I think he does a really good job. Both sides of the pitch, I think he's got a screamer in him. Yeah. And defensively, I think he's really solid in how he presses.
But
over
the years, if you think about the players at Liverpool, if you think about the way that Liverpool have assembled this midfield, it's almost by accident. They wanted Caicedo, they didn't get him. They wanted Lavia, they didn't get him. They wanted Bellingham, they didn't get him. And look, he's turned water into wine here.
They got Gravenberch in, and then he fell by the wayside.
He was a peripheral player both at Liverpool and at Bayern. And okay, they've done an amazing thing with it, but I feel like there's a shelf life for that. It's unsustainable to constantly turn players into brilliant system players. Is what you need in amongst it all. Is, as you've suggested, a Harry Kane, a player of Bellingham's quality in central midfield. You know, like a proper signing.
I tell you, I'm really impressed by watching the Champions League, because I don't watch Ligue 1, but it's Vitinha.
Yeah,
you know, he was at Wolves a couple of years ago. And he went in with a shout. Again, another a Gravenberch-esque story, and I think he's been pulling up trees in the Champions League. He's also been doing it in the Farmers League. So, you know, that might be an interesting move to Liverpool. But I can't say I feel particularly strongly about replacing Szoboszlai or Gravenberch. But yeah, I do think Carragher's got a point, because I think Harvey Elliott, does he do it for you?
No, he's not. He's a very, very good player, but he isn't a player that should really be doing it for the champions on a weekly basis. I think you could say the same thing about Curtis Jones. I rate Jones, and there's certainly a place for him in a squad of champions, but are they a little bit too reliant on a player like Curtis Jones for the ability that he has? And I think we disagree a touch on this. But I'm not really having Szoboszlai. Not really. I don't think if Arne Slot is to be backed wholeheartedly, if FSG really go for the jugular and, you know, try and retain the Premier League, maybe go for a European. Do you think
they're hamstringing themselves a little bit, Rory? And look, Mo Salah deserves it because he's world class and he's a Liverpool legend. But you know, he's going to be on 300 plus grand a week still. And, you know, Van Dijk's on a lot of weight. So it's not as if they're freeing up a load of space in their budget.
No, but you've got to offset some of the others. Tsimikas, for example, is so clearly not good enough to play for Liverpool. So get rid. Yeah. You know, I think you have to be
they need to be a bit ruthless.
Yeah, be a little bit ruthless and ultimately free space up in the squad, free up some money on the wage bill. But also, don't be afraid to spend. Like, you're going to have to spend. Man City are going to spend. So if you want to keep the league title, you're going to have to offer the big wages as well. Yeah. And you know, to bring my beloved Forest into it, what did they do? Spent a load of money, got criticised for it, and now they're in a semi-final of an FA Cup, third in the Premier League, looking to get into the Champions League. So yeah, I think FSG really need to put their money where their mouth is if they're going to continue winning back-to-back Premier League titles and eventually overcoming Man United for the amount of titles won all time. On AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.